Hello, hello, welcome to Roxy Colors. Hey, have you ever wanted to try oil painting but just didn't know what to do, how to start? Well, that's kind of where I'm at. I decided, hey, I just want to try oil painting. And I think the main reason was because I saw these Holbein water soluble oil colors and I thought, wow, they're compact and they come with linseed oil. And after doing a little bit of research, I found out that even though you can mix these paints with water, it will make the paint look dull. So they said it's best to use linseed oil to mix and water down your paints. And so that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so let's take a look at these paint colors. We have cadmium red deep hue. We have vermilion hue. And we also have medium yellow light hue and a light green, a regular green, a cobalt blue, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, ivory black, and permanent white. And we have our little linseed oil. I'm going to go ahead and just pour a little bit of the linseed oil in this plastic cup, and we'll go from there. I will be using this 8x10 acrylic board, and I will be using this tomato as a reference. So I just have to figure out, where do I start? I don't really know. I was thinking about maybe using a pencil, but I don't know. I just think I might do it freehand and just paint an oval the size of a tomato. So I put down some of the vermilion and I'm putting a little bit of linseed oil on the side and just trying to mix it up so it's a nice consistency. I'm not really sure how much to put, but I'm just experimenting. This is what it's all about. You know, when we're artists, we just have to experiment sometimes. I am going to speed up the video just a little bit and just paint. And so you can go ahead and watch my process. Again, you can try this with me. You can learn from my mistakes or learn from what I did right, as I'm not really sure. I feel like with the linseed oil, it feels very thin, transparent, I should say. But it feels very buttery, which I like. I'm not sure if I should leave white areas for the white part of the tomato. So I'm just trying to lighten it up in the middle. I'm not really sure. So I think I'm going to fill it in and then maybe add white on top. Because, I would do that if I was using gouache. So let's see what happens. Okay, I went ahead and added a little bit of yellow to the vermilion just because I feel like the tomato has just a little, tint of yellow. And so I'm trying to get these edges not to be so hard. But then again, I can always adjust that once I add a background. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. I feel like, though, every time I put my brush, you can see every single brush stroke. And I'm not used to that either. I don't know if this is normal for oil painting. Again, I don't know if I'm doing it right. All right, so right here I just mixed a little bit of white so I can get some maybe more opaque coverage in these areas. There's going to be some white, from the highlights in this area. So I'm just adding a little bit of white. See how that goes. Okay, so now I'm just adding a little bit more of the vermilion with not as much linseed oil, and just to see if adding another layer kind of covers that transparency. Again, I'm experimenting, I'm learning as I go. I could be doing this totally wrong, but I'm a self-taught artist anyways, and so this is kind of how I've always learned. Just do it, and if it doesn't work out, try it a different way. So I will continue to try. So my first impression of using these oil paints, water soluble, um, it's kind of, I'm kind of struggling. It's not, I guess because I'm not used to it, but I feel like, was I supposed to add the darkest color first and then the light on top of that? I don't know. So here we have the lighting change because it was getting dark in the room where I was painting, and so I had to use a light. So that's why it looks kind of sparkly, because of the, the wetness of the oil paint. The shine is coming through. It won't look like that throughout the entire video, but just continue to watch the process. Again, I'm struggling, but this is what I have to do to figure out how to use these oil paints. At this point, I'm definitely not happy with the tomato. I mean, it looks very flat, but I'm just going to keep working on it. I feel like every time I put paint, I remove paint, or I'm smudging paint or taking off. It's just, I don't know, it's frustrating, but it's a learning process. Okay, so here's my attempt of trying to create different values, lights and darks. So again, I don't really know what I'm doing because it's so different than gouache and definitely different than acrylic. So I'm trying to figure it out. So to get the darker values, I'm just using like the cadmium red with a little bit of linseed oil, and it's applying pretty well. But again, it's still a little difficult to control in my opinion. And then adding the white highlights, again, I just use a little bit of linseed oil just to make the paint a smoother consistency, and that way I can get a nice opaque white. To get the darkest red, I am using cadmium red mixed with some green, just the regular green. So my plan for the background is, I'm not going to be very detailed, but I'm just going to be adding some values. We have some green and light green and very dark green, almost black. But I think I'm just going to mix my green with a little bit of red to create a very dark green, and maybe just a touch of black towards the bottom right there, where on the left side where the table is, and I might have added a tiny bit for the shadow. This paint is so creamy. I mean, you just accidentally touch it and you smear it, and it's so hard for me to paint sometimes without my hand touching the painting. So the way the background is looking, I feel like it's too busy, and I want the tomato to be the point of interest. So I'm kind of just trying to smear what I did, and I'll rework it later. So I'm looking at the stem of the tomato, and it's highlighted. A lot of parts of it are highlighted with white. And so I'm thinking, maybe I put white first and then put dark on top of that. Maybe that'll make it easier so I don't have to keep outlining everything in white. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out because this paint is really buttery and, consistently wet. that I'm trying to add color to the stem, I'm thinking, oh no, this is not what I really wanted to do because it's so wet still. I'm used to working with gouache, which dries really quickly. I'm used to working with acrylic, which dries really quickly. This is not dry. It's kind of just smearing. So I'm realizing I've got to grab, globs of paint, that isn't mixed with too much linseed oil. Anyways, I think I'm going to start adding some darker value in the background to help the leaves pop more. And then I'll just try to add more values to the leaves if necessary. Oh my gosh, this is so hard. I just want to lean my hand against the painting, but I have to paint with my hand up in the air. And is this the way people do it when they paint with oils? Am I doing this wrong? Was I supposed to wait for it to dry and then add more color? I don't know. But I'm the type of person that I want something done quickly. I want to finish this painting in no longer than 2 hours. So that's my goal. So I don't really like all these brush strokes in the background. So I'm going to take this, I think it's called a fan brush, and I'm going to kind of brush out the edges, like the hard edges, to kind of just on the edges to kind of smooth it out, make it, make little fine strokes, almost like little grass. It just made it look so much better than the hard edges of the brush. Okay, so let's make these little leaves stand out by adding some white around them. Okay, it's been around 2 hours. I'm done. I think this is the best I can do. I feel like if I keep messing with the tomato, I'm going to ruin it because, again, I keep smearing the paint and I just don't want to keep reworking it. So I have to be satisfied with what I have. Here's my workstation. There's the big mess of paint, and oh my gosh, did I make a mess? I didn't even clean up my water. I'm so bad. But I think it came out okay. Here it is under the light. There are like 2 lights on right now, so it looks very bright, but I want you to see it in different lightings. And for the first time, again, it was a struggle. I don't know if I'll ever paint with oils again, maybe someday, but I don't think anytime soon. So here it is in a different lighting, not so much bright light. You don't see any of the reflected shine coming through. But then there's this photo that I believe I took outside. So you see how bright the white looks, which is pretty much how it looks in person. This is just a little brighter. But then the red, like the darker red on the tomato, kind of gets washed out. So that's kind of not really how it looks in person. But I do really love the highlights in this photo. Anyways, if you appreciate this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.